Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something that genuinely feels like it was pulled straight out of a science fiction novel, but it is happening right now in artificial intelligence labs. We are talking about AI evolving from simply playing digital games to actively researching, analyzing, and actually rewriting the underlying mechanics of those games entirely on its own. It is a massive, massive leap in how we evaluate frontier AI, and we've got a fantastic paper to guide us through exactly how it works.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll quickly cover the next AI frontier, meet the AutoWorldModel Bench sandbox, decode the matrix of game data, watch this autonomous AI scientist in action, and then wrap up with some genuinely surprising results.
All right, Section 1, the next AI frontier, where AI actually starts running the lab. Let's look at the major bottleneck we've hit in how we test these incredible systems. For years now, we've basically measured AI by how well it takes standardized tests, right? Like, can it pass the bar exam? Can it write this specific Python script? But the real question, and honestly the hook for our entire explainer today, is this. What happens when AI stops just taking tests where we already know the answers and starts actually running the laboratory to discover things we don't even know yet?
Just look at the contrast here. On the left side, you've got your traditional engineering 2 spec. It's safe, it's predictable, the data set, the metrics, the ways to improve, they are all totally specified in advance. But on the right, this open-ended research paradigm, that is literally like handing the AI a blank canvas and a lab coat. The interactions are poorly understood, success entirely depends on testing novel hypotheses, and the agent basically has to figure out the path forward completely on its own.
Which brings us to Section 2, meet AutoWorldModel Bench. This is the brand new sandbox designed to test exactly this kind of open-ended research. To pull this off, the researchers obviously needed an environment, and looking at this image, you'll definitely recognize these universally familiar titles. We've got Asteroids, Breakout, Frogger, Pong, Snake, and a few others. Now, these aren't just here for a fun nostalgia trip. They actually span wildly different dynamics. For instance, Snake involves discrete, grid-based growth and self-collision, while Asteroids features continuous physics, wrapping screens, and objects that split apart. This incredible variety provides a perfectly controlled yet deeply complex testing ground for an autonomous AI researcher.
Now, to be crystal clear, the AI is not here to play Asteroids or Snake. It is here to build a world model. So, what actually is world modeling? It's how an AI system learns to predict the physics, the rules, and the entire dynamic of an environment so it can imagine long-horizon trajectories. It isn't about just memorizing the next frame of a video. It's about deeply understanding the simulation so profoundly that you could, theoretically, run the entire game inside the AI's mind.
Okay, Section 3, decoding the matrix. Let's look under the hood at how the AI actually perceives these games.
If you've seen the movie The Matrix, you know the difference between the visual illusion and the raw code underneath. This image illustrates exactly that. On the left, we see the standard visual frame of Snake, the green blocks on a block screen. But the AI bypasses that messy, error-prone pixel data entirely. Instead, it looks directly at the canonical JSON state on the right. If you look closely at that code block, it clearly defines the action and an array of entities, like the snake's head, its body, and the food, along with their precise coordinate bounds. By feeding the AI this pure JSON data, the researchers completely isolated the challenge of modeling the physics from the totally different challenge of visual perception.
To standardize this raw data across all 8 of those very different games, the benchmark uses a well-established game engine architecture called Entity Component System, or ECS for short. It's actually brilliant. It breaks everything down into distinct, independent parts. Entities are the uniquely identified objects, like a paddle. Components are the properties attached to them, like their velocity or physical shape. And systems are the actual physics functions that update them. This setup hands the AI researcher the pure, raw rules of the digital environment in a super modular way.
And then they take that JSON and turn it into something mathematically beautiful, a unified tensor representation. Every single game defines a fixed maximum number of entity slots. These entities are split up. You have mutable ones, things that change, like the player, which the AI has to predict. And you have immutable ones, like walls, which just serve as the context. All the dimensions are completely unified and masked. This means that whether the AI is researching the continuous physics of Pong or the discrete grid of Snake, the mathematical shape of the problem remains absolutely identical for the AI researcher.
Moving right along to Section 4, the autonomous AI scientist.
Let's see how this perfectly structured data fits into an actual working laboratory for our AI agents. Take a look at this diagram, because this is the exact closed-loop harness where the magic happens. Over on the left, in the task directory, the AI is handed its starting materials, an instruction file telling it the goal, a starter train.py model, some configuration files, and the raw data. Then, right in the middle, the AI agent takes over. It reads the codebase, acts as a lead researcher to design architectural changes, and literally writes new code. It then triggers the train phase to run the experiment and save checkpoints, immediately followed by the evaluate phase, which checks the trajectory accuracy and game rules. Finally, on the far right, it spits out an artifacts folder with a summary log. The agent just loops through this, analyze, redesign, iterate completely independently.
And the crazy part is, it does all of this under a highly rigorous, strict 6-hour compute budget. Inside that window, it analyzes its starter code and pass logs. It forms a genuine scientific hypothesis, like maybe altering a loss function or totally changing the neural network architecture. It then trains the new model. But here's the kicker. Each individual training run is aggressively capped at exactly 10 minutes so it doesn't waste time on dead ends. It evaluates the results, logs them, and iterates again. It is literally applying the scientific method on fast forward.
Now, it doesn't start from absolute scratch. To really put these coding agents to the test, researchers provided 4 completely distinct, highly complex starter architectures to improve upon. We're talking recurrent state space models, causal autoregressive transformers, discrete denoising diffusion, and masked generation objectives. By giving the AI completely different baseline paradigms, they ensured the AI couldn't just rely on some cheap parlor trick to win. It really had to understand the specific code base it was handed. Which brings us to our final section. The surprising research results. Let's see what actually happens when you drop top-tier frontier coding agents, specifically Claude Opus 4.6 and Codex 5.4, into this sandbox. Across the 8 games, the 4 architectures, and the 2 AI agents, there were 64 total research sessions. Out of those 64 sessions, the AI agents successfully improved the starter model's performance in an astonishing 63 of them. 63 out of 64. Just let that sink in for a second. In almost every single independent research sprint, an AI looked at human-provided, complex deep learning code, ran its own experiments, and generated a strictly better version of the model.
Now you might be thinking, okay, well maybe it just tweaked the learning rate dial a little bit. No way. As the authors explicitly state in the paper, in 91% of sessions, the winning edit is a non-trivial research-style modification rather than a hyperparameter tweak. These weren't minor adjustments. The AI agents were actually rewriting core architectures, redefining state representations, and overhauling rollout procedures. They were doing real heavy-duty AI research.
And if we look at their raw productivity within that 6-hour window on this chart, both agents were just relentlessly busy. Claude Opus 4.6 had an average of 23.5 distinct training experiments per session, while Codex 5.4 managed about 18.2. So while Claude squeezed in a few more iterations, both agents performed remarkably well head-to-head. They were constantly designing, compiling, and testing completely novel ideas against the benchmark without taking a breather.
But here is the actual fundamental breakthrough of the paper. The gains we're talking about weren't just in predicting what the very next single frame would look like. The massive improvements were concentrated at the long horizon rollout. This matters immensely because it means the AI didn't just find some statistical shortcut to memorize the next step. It successfully redesigned these models to simulate long-term, compounding physical futures without the simulation breaking down.
Let's actually break down these bar charts detailing the scenario composite by horizon. It's a great visual. Each cluster of bars represents a different point in the future. H1 is 1 step ahead, H10 is 10 steps, H20 is 20 steps, and H-end is the full episode length. Now, the lighter bars are the human starter models, and the darker bars are the AI agents improved models. Notice how at H1, on the far left of each game's chart, the bars are pretty neck and neck. But as you move to the right, looking deeper into the future at H20 and H-end, the darker bars stay significantly higher while the lighter human models drop off. The agent's architectural changes made these models remarkably more stable over time.
Finally, check out this chart on terminal correctness. This proves the AI actually learned the rules through scenario tests. The researchers built these controlled micro-experiments, like literally isolating a ball hitting a paddle or a snake eating food, and checked if the AI predicted the correct outcome.
Just like the previous chart, as we move into the deeper horizons of H10, H20, and H-end, the darker bars representing the autonomous agents absolutely dominate. The agents successfully engineered models that accurately mapped complex mechanics like collisions and scoring states, proving they grasped the deep logic of the environment. So, we have officially moved from AI simply playing video games to AI autonomously conducting complex scientific research to build perfect predictive physics engines of those games. Which leaves us with a truly mind-bending final thought. If an AI system can autonomously research, debug, and rewrite the fundamental physics models of a digital world in just 6 hours, how long until they start accelerating research into the fundamental rules of ours? Thanks for joining the Explainer today, and keep questioning the frontier.